JBN, we keep you informed. I am Michelle Jones, and in the news today, car tinting technician Tyson murdered in Montego Bay. A man was murdered along Dome Street in Montego Bay, St. James on the morning of Saturday, August 29. The deceased has been identified as 47-year-old Everald Tyson Chambers, a car tinting technician of Rose Heights in the parish. According to the police, Chambers was at his regular spot on Dome Street when he was pounced upon by an unknown assailant who shot him multiple times. The gunman escaped on foot in the area. Chambers was taken to the Cornwall Regional Hospital where he was pronounced dead. The St. James police are investigating. Man dies in bike crash. A 25-year-old St. Mary man yesterday died from injuries he received in a motorcycle crash on the Crooked River Main Road in the parish. He is Shaquille Williams of Top Bay, Montego Bay. According to reports from the police, Williams was traveling towards Montego Bay around 3:40 p.m. when he lost control of his Yang motorcycle and collided in a culvert. Passers-by took him to hospital where he succumbed to his injuries while being treated. Hanover cops convicted of corruption fined $500,000. Hanover constables Shamroy Hewitt and Andre Drummond, both 31, were on Monday each fined $500,000 on corruption charges in the Lucy Parish Court. They were charged following an incident in January 2017 when they stopped a car in which a wanted murderer was a passenger. The cops were found guilty on July 31 of soliciting and accepting $150,000 from a driver to avoid laying lottery scamming charges, as well as to release the wanted man who was in his company. The police were remanded pending the sentencing on August 31. After reviewing social inquiry reports and hearing mitigation pleas from their attorney, Martin Thomas, both cops were fined $250,000 on each charge or 21 months imprisonment. They were ordered to submit their fingerprints. Evidence was led in court that Hewitt and Drummond took the wanted man and the driver of the car into their police vehicle, and while on the drive to Lucy, bartered with the men for a sum to be paid for their release. The driver, who is a chef from Norwood, St. James, was taken to a bank and directed to make a withdrawal. He withdrew $150,000, which was then handed to Hewitt, who left in the police vehicle with Drummond. A third constable, Conrad Clark, was also charged, but he was found not guilty, as the court found that there was no evidence that he, at any time, participated in the offense other than being with the others when the car was stopped at the vehicular checkpoint. 18-year-old killed in Mandeville crash. 4 supporters of the People's National Party PNP were rushed to the Mandeville Regional Hospital yesterday following an accident along the Winston Jones Highway in Manchester. Police reports are that shortly after 3 p.m., 4 people were traveling in a Nissan motor car when the driver lost control of the vehicle and crashed into a tractor-trailer in the vicinity of Marshall's Pen. The occupants of the car were rushed to hospital where an 18-year-old passenger died as a result of the injuries he sustained. He has been identified as Brandon Sturridge of Comfort District in Manchester. The other 3 occupants of the vehicle were admitted. 50 trainee cops puzzled as names missing from voters' list. 50 trainee police officers in Western Jamaica missed out on exercising their franchise on Monday as their names did not appear on the voters' list for the security forces. In an interview just before the close of the polls, Assistant Commissioner of Police Clifford Chambers, commander for Area 1, said things went well except for the trainees who did not get a chance to vote alongside soldiers, election day workers, and other police. However, all is not lost for the trainee police. Chambers said that since the trainees' names were not transferred from the civilian list to the security forces roll, he expects them to cast their ballots with the general population on Thursday. The trainees, who are halfway through their regime, will be granted a special time off to go wherever they are listed to vote. Chambers said that Area 1 is equipped with adequate vehicles to transport the trainees to their respective polling stations on Election Day. Among the persons who voted on Monday was one female Election Day worker who was voting for the first time. She was elated as she declared that her first vote went to the Jamaica Labour Party. The government has provided opportunities so that I was able to get summer employment assistance under the COVID-19 pandemic, said the 19-year-old from St. James Northwest. At the Jamaica Defence Forces Burke Barracks in Montego Bay, coronavirus health and safety protocols were observed as voters sanitized and had their temperature read before being allowed to access the voting area. "My vote today is about change, and we need it now," a female soldier said after voting. Phillips blasts PM for not tightening restrictions for emancipants. Leader of the opposition, Dr. Peter Phillips, says the government must immediately take steps to equip the public health sector to deal with the increasing number of COVID-19 cases. In a statement today, Phillips blasted Prime Minister Andrew Holness for not tightening COVID-19 restrictions over the Emancipation and Independence weekend. The worst act of political irresponsibility ever seen in Jamaica since independence has been the decision of Andrew Holness to reject the advice of the health professionals. Leading up to the Emancipation and Independence weekend, the opposition leader said, "The consequence of his failure to tighten the curfew and the restrictions then has been to see this wave of further infections, which is paralyzing the country and is sending so many people to the hospital," he added. Phillips said that there is no chaos in the hospitals with the scarcity of medicine, shortage of staff, basic equipment and supplies. The increasing number of COVID-19 cases pose an ominous threat to the country. According to the People's National Party (PNP), hospital sources have reported that there are large numbers of people who suspect that they are infected with the virus showing up at health facilities. The party said these people are not able to receive assistance due to the lack of personnel in addition to the COVID-19 wards being filled to capacity. The health facilities must be properly equipped as a matter of urgency. This means much more than PR. Concrete steps must be taken to widen the capabilities through the setting up of a field hospital, better equipping our healthcare system, and employing more frontline workers where they are required and available, Phillips said. He suggested a public health program on basic home care must begin immediately so that people in isolation have information on a course of action to prevent them from falling gravely ill. Phillips also noted that the British government has recently added Jamaica to a list of countries where British nationals need a 14-day quarantine regime on return home. This was done because of the current spike in COVID cases. "This is not a good sign that we have descended to this. There are serious implications for the economy and the country's perception as a safe destination at this time," he said. The fact that the spike is increasing as we prepare for the national poll, not due until next year, demonstrates that this administration was focused on power and public relations and not on the true welfare of the Jamaican people, Dr. Phillips said. The opposition leader cautioned all voters and the people of Jamaica in general to heed the basic guidelines for safety. Healthcare workers worried as COVID-19 cases spike. Health workers in at least 4 health centers in St. Catherine, Clarendon, St. Elizabeth, and St. Anne say they are worried that the spike in COVID-19 cases will overwhelm primary health care across the island. Jamaica recorded 1 death related to COVID-19 as reported on Monday evening, even as the number of confirmed positive cases increased by 245. The total number of deaths related to COVID-19 is now 21, while the total number of positives is 2,357. Already, nurses are feeling the pressure. Registered nurse Samantha Brown, not her real name, who works at a health center in a Portmore community, said there are already signs that the situation is becoming untenable. She said fear is openly being expressed by fellow health workers as the prospects of contagion grow with each passing day. While the government did some things right earlier on, I now feel that as a country we have lost the plot, and because of that, as a nurse, I am worried, Brown said. Speaking to Radio Jamaica News, President of the Nurses Association of Jamaica, NAJ, Carmen Johnson, said that nurses have expressed fear of burnout as pressure builds in dealing with the spike in COVID-19 cases, among other routine duties. Johnson said she's concerned about the number of nurses being exposed to the virus. At present, the NAJ president said that 10 nurses have contracted the virus and more than 50 are now in quarantine. She noted that it is affecting the delivery of service in the public health system. Our biggest challenge is the exposure for nurses and other health workers, because we are aware that persons are coming into the facilities who did not come in for COVID-19 but end up being COVID-19 positive, said Johnson. In recent weeks, St. Catherine, Kingston, and St. Andrew, St. Thomas, and Clarendon have borne the brunt of the latest spike, prompting Prime Minister Andrew Holness to revise curfew hours in those parishes. Georgette Bryce, not her real name, who has spent 13 years working in the primary health sector in Clarendon, spoke of being afraid to go to work. Sometimes I just do not want to go to work. I am so afraid because I have a really bad asthma situation and my daughter, who is 4, now has a respiratory illness, Bryce said. JBN, we keep you informed. Please remember to subscribe, like, share, leave us a comment and click the notification bell to receive our daily news items.